So, you're looking for a dog trainer in Statesboro. It can feel like a huge task, right? But don't worry, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. In this explainer, we're going to break down everything you need to know to make a really confident choice for you and your dog.
Statesboro has this really unique energy, being a college town and all. And good training is what helps your dog handle everything, from those busy Saturdays on Main Street to a calm stroll through the Georgia Southern campus. It's really about making life here enjoyable for both of you. All right, so where do you even start? Let's get right into the essentials. What actually makes a trainer qualified? We're going to cover the most important training philosophy and the certifications that show a trainer really knows their stuff. You're going to hear this term a lot, positive reinforcement. And for good reason, it's the gold standard in modern training. What it boils down to is rewarding the behaviors you want to see. Simple as that. It's not just effective, it actually builds a much stronger bond with your dog, making the whole process feel more like a fun game than a chore. Okay, you might see this alphabet soup after a trainer's name, right? Well, those letters mean something. They aren't just for show. Certifications like CPDT-K or KPA-CTP mean that a trainer has actually passed exams on how dogs learn and is committed to keeping their education up to date. And if you're dealing with bigger challenges like fear or anxiety, seeing something like CBCC-K is a really good sign. That points to a much deeper level of expertise in animal behavior. Okay, next up, let's talk about the different ways training is actually delivered, because the best format for you really comes down to your dog's personality, what you're trying to achieve, and let's be honest, your schedule. So the two big ones you'll see are group classes and private lessons. Group classes, they're awesome for learning general manners and getting your dog used to focusing with other dogs around. Plus, they're definitely easier on the wallet. On the flip side, private lessons give you a totally customized plan. They're perfect for tackling those very specific at-home issues, like, say, barking like crazy when the doorbell rings. And there are a couple of other formats to know about. Day training is a great choice if your schedule is packed. The trainer does most of the initial work. Then you have board and train programs, which are super immersive. But for those, you absolutely have to do your homework and vet their methods very carefully to make sure they're humane. And of course, for things like therapy or service dog work, you'll need a very specific, highly structured program. All right, let's get down to the practical side of things. Money. How much should you budget? Knowing the typical prices around Statesboro and Bullock County will help you figure out what to expect. So just for a starting point, a single private lesson in Statesboro is usually going to land you somewhere in this range. Of course, that price can change based on the trainer's experience and what exactly you're working on. And if we look at the bigger picture for different packages, you can see puppy or group obedience classes are usually a couple $100. Packages for in-home training can range from, say, $375 up to $800. And, as you'd probably guess, the really intensive options like a board and train are going to be a much bigger investment. Okay, so let's say you've narrowed it down to a few trainers. What's next? The consultation. And we've got a checklist of key questions you should ask to make sure you get all the info you need. You can think of this as your personal interview guide. You want to ask directly about their methods and their credentials. A truly great trainer will be totally open and happy to explain how they tailor plans for each dog and how they measure success. Oh, and for behavior stuff, asking if they'll work with your vet, that's a fantastic question to see how professional they are. All right, let's tie this all back to living here in Statesboro. Knowing the local rules and a few good spots to practice is going to help you put all that great training to use. The big rule to remember here is the 6-foot leash. You've got to have your dog on one in all public spaces in Statesboro, pretty much everywhere except designated dog parks. Practicing a nice loose leash walk makes this rule super easy to follow. So, there are basically 3 key local rules to have on your radar. First, all dogs over 3 months old need to have their rabies vaccination. We just talked about the leash law, and it's also good to know that nuisance barking is a thing here. There are ordinances about it, so good training can literally help you be a great neighbor. Now, once you get going with training, you'll need some good places to practice. The dog park at Mill Creek Regional Park is a fantastic spot for working on recall since it's safely fenced in. Honey Bowen Park has these great open fields for practicing leash skills. And the Statesboro Greenway, it's perfect for teaching your dog to stay focused with joggers and cyclists going by. Now, if you've just adopted a dog, this is such a helpful rule of thumb to keep in mind. It's all about setting realistic expectations. A new dog just needs some time to settle in, and a good trainer will absolutely respect that timeline and build skills at a pace that works for your new family member. So now that we've gone through the different methods, formats, and costs, just take a second and think about your dog and your situation. Are you starting fresh with a brand new puppy, or are you trying to work on a specific behavior? Answering that for yourself will really help you figure out the best place to start.
At the end of the day, putting time and effort into training is really about one thing: creating a happier life together with less stress. Having a well-behaved dog makes every part of living in Statesboro that much better, from a walk through Sweetheart Circle to visiting with friends to just a fun day at the park. We really wish you the best of luck on your training journey.